Welcome to the Network Build Grow podcast, the show where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals share their stories, lessons learned, and powerful strategies for building relationships and growing their circle of influence. With Melissa Taylor, your host, each week we'll bring you actionable insights to help you build a better network and a better business. Let's dive in.
I'm so excited to have my friend Dayna Gowen here. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Melissa. So good to see you and chat with you. I'm good. I'm having a good start to the week.
That's
and
awesome.
This is part of
Monday.
it.
Well, there you go. I forgot it's Monday. My days have just been running together lately, but that's awesome.
I bet. Yeah,
it's been a lot. So tell us first, because you're relatively new to the Network Build Grow world, but not new to me. Relatively new to me, but we've been doing a lot lately. So I feel like I've known you forever. But tell us kind of what you do with Improvly speaking.
Yeah, I'm actually really new to Charlotte too. I consider myself new. I've been in Charlotte for about 10 months now. I was in LA before that for 7 years, and we moved to Charlotte in August 2025. And so I've kind of jumped in to it, and I've gotten so much value out of NBG, and I love the group. I love everything you've created. And I swear I'm not just saying that to butter you up. I really have enjoyed the group. But to your question, so Improvly speaking, I was a super nervous speaker. I hated public speaking. And I know that's so surprising now because I'm such a great speaker. But I hated it. I hated doing it all throughout college and school. And I was like, oh, it's just a peers problem. Like, I get nervous in front of my peers because it's a theoretical project. Like, it doesn't really matter, whatever. When I get out into my career, I'll be fine. And that theory didn't pan out. And when I got into my career, I had a terrible presentation. And I was like, okay, like, this is a me problem. Like, I am not a great speaker and I can do something about it. Now, that sounds very calm. I was crying. There were tears involved. It was a very emotional journey. But I took Toastmasters. I did Toastmasters. And the very short story in a long journey is that Toastmasters helped me conquer my fear of public speaking. I was a very polished speaker. I got rid of all the filler words. I could stand up and be very poised and confident. And then I found improv, and improv made me a more dynamic speaker. And what does that mean, dynamic speaker? It means I can practice and prep and get really excited about the presentation. I know everything I'm ready. Let me back up. I know what I'm going to say. I'm prepared. And then I can release the notes and I can be there with the audience and I can just allow whatever happens to unfold. And that to me is a dynamic speaker.
Yeah. And that's what you show other people how to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the background story. Yes. That's what I want to help people with, because I've watched so many webinars, so many in-person presentations where people are nervous. They're hiding behind their slides. They're hiding behind their notes. They're trying to get it perfect and just everything go right. And when you're in that mindset of it has to be perfect, it's not going to be perfect. And then you're in your head going, oh no, it's not perfect. They're judging me because it's not perfect. And so what I want to help people with, what I do help people with, is I help them get out of their heads and judgment zones, allow them to play more. And that does not mean you have to be silly, but bring a playful energy, a playful mindset to your talks. Even very serious content, you can bring yourself, your vulnerable, true self. I don't know how you feel about the word authentic, but I don't love the word authentic, but your genuine, real self to the stage.
Yeah. So this isn't just big stages though. Like, you actually work like in corporate when people just have to do a presentation, even to just their boss or their team. Like, it's really any type of presentation, not what we typically think of as when we think speaker, we think stage, lights, camera, action, large audience, but you're talking even just in the boardroom.
We're on stage all the time. It doesn't have to be the biggest of stages. We are on stage every day at work. And I know this because I was in the corporate world for 10 plus years in some really boring meetings where it's like, oh, this could
Yeah.
have been an email, right? This could have been an email. But
Yeah.
you know, the really good meetings where everyone's engaged and ideas are flowing and you're excited to be there. You feel lit up. You're like, yes, I'm going to take on that task and you're going to get that task and we're going to innovate and we're getting things done. And it feels so good.
Mhm.
That's a facilitation skill. That is a
The
meeting.
speaker skill.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a very important skill, and yet we think, "Oh, well, public speaking is only for the big stages. I gotta practice and, conquer my nerves when I have a big speech coming." No, you can see the nerves that people have in just every kind of speaking engagement,
Mhm.
leading team
Mhm.
meetings, speaking up. You can see the nerves. And so let's get rid of the nerves and let's be able to show up fully, genuinely, and just share a piece of ourselves when we talk.
Yeah, and I would think that's true of like sales teams too. Individual salespeople go out and do, a presentation to get the sale, to get the job, to get the contract. And I think a lot of them could really benefit from like leave the script at home. Like you said, prepare, but then let it go. Mhm.
I'm shaking my head vigorously.
Yeah, for
Total
those of you who are just
agreement.
listening.
I have sat on so many boring presentations, slide decks where it feels like a check the box thing, and the
Mhm.
sales team's like, "I gotta do this so I can put in Salesforce that I talked to this client, I delivered the presentation, I did my job." And if that is your mindset when you go into a presentation, you will not get the client. And in
Mhm.
fact, I'm gonna check my email while you're talking because you have not at any point asked, like, what I think about this. How does this relate to my work? How can we
Yeah.
apply this product to what we're working on? How could our clients use this? You have to turn it back to the group. It has to be a conversation, not a one-way speech when you're doing a
Mhm.
sales presentation.
Yeah, which is where improv comes in because one of the core fundamentals of improv is you have to listen to the other people and
Exactly.
play off of them. Like that's the only way improv works.
Exactly, and it's leaving your idea of, like, what's the perfect scenario of how this goes. Yes, okay, so perfect scenario in sales is they love it right off the bat, 30 seconds in, and I know I don't even have to give the presentation. Boom, we're done, we're golden. Okay, so maybe that doesn't come true. Maybe they throw a hard question at you that you weren't prepared for, and
Mhm.
you turn it back to them and say, I will get back to you, but tell me why that's important to
Mhm.
you. Like
Mhm.
based on using my hands, like expand on that. Tell me more. Tell me more. Get curious. Improv is all about being curious. And if we're in our heads judging and going, "Oh my gosh," for on the improv stage, if we're like, "Why did my scene partner do that? Like they took it to a different time. And that's not where I wanted to go." And you're leading with your idea instead of the group's idea. You're not going to be on the same
It's
page.
gonna fail.
It's going to be a very hard scene to watch and to be
Yeah.
in. Yeah. So we can make it easier by listening and being curious and saying yes and to our scene partners. And then in real life, say yes and to the questions that come up,
Mhm.
to what's going on stage, what's happening. What are your audiences doing? Is
Yeah.
everyone on their phone? Hey, I noticed you're all on your phone, and not in a condescending way. Like, hey, I noticed you're all on your phone. Let me take a step back. Is what I'm saying making sense? Do I need to elaborate? What else would you like to hear today?
Yeah.
How can I serve you best?
Mhm.
So it's dropping
Yeah.
the agenda, coming prepared, and then dropping the agenda if needed.
If needed. Yeah, I love that.
Let me introduce you to the Speaker League, where great leaders are made. It's a community built around world-class speakers, real training, and the kind of opportunities that put you in front of a room and dare you to own it. Everything you need to go from good to unforgettable. Train, speak, win. The stage is yours. Your voice, your moment, your stage. Join now at thespeakerleague.com.
So let's kind of switch this into, before we get into how networking has affected your business, let's continue the conversation with improv because improv is a big part of networking. I mean, conversations in general are improv. Like our
Mm-hmm.
conversations are not scripted. And so your conversation inside a networking event should not be scripted.
And I hope it's not, right? Because you can tell the ones that it's scripted. I think we all have our little pitch that we do. I mean, I have mine, right? Like I help nervous speakers find the fun and joy in public speaking, right?
Mhm.
I can lead with that. But then what does that mean? And then again, improv and curiosity go hand in hand,
Mhm.
right? So it's being curious about the other person, listening to them,
Mm.
making your scene partner look good is an improv skill that we can bring to the corporate world. We can bring in networking, making each other look good. And that doesn't mean like that first conversation, it's like, oh, I got somebody for you. And like you give leads right off the bat. If you're coming into a networking conversation with an end goal that like I need to get leads and referrals or collaborations, you're going to probably end up disappointed, right?
Mhm.
Because it takes time. It takes
Mhm.
time to build these relationships, to build trust, and to discover what the other person does. And what I love about improv too is the discoveries that can happen if you just take it one step at a time. If you
Mhm.
come into it full force, like I'm going to meet somebody who is going to buy my product and I'm going to make my quota for the month. Again, that's a high
Good luck.
expectation. Good luck. But if you come into it like, I'm going to meet somebody and have a conversation and learn what they do, and
Mhm.
then learn how I can serve them or how I can help them, just coming at it from a curious position. And it sounds like your dog is curious too. Heard a little
Yeah, did you hear
bark in the background.
that?
Yeah. I don't know if that showed up on camera, or on video, but anyway, just being curious too,
Mhm.
and not coming into it with an agenda and being excited to be there. Because if
Yeah.
you're talking with somebody and they have their eyes like they're looking for somebody else, or they're like looking like, you can tell when people are in the conversation and not. That's when
Mhm.
you can say, hey, I gotta excuse myself, or I'm gonna go over here. I see someone I need to talk to, and you leave, because that's an energy drain if someone's not in
Mhm.
it with you.
Yeah, it really is. I like the word discover. You said discovery. It's a process of discovery. And like you said, when you discover more about that person and they discover more about you, that's when it starts to build that trust, right? That
Exactly.
understanding of why are you here? Why do you do what you do? And what does that mean to me or people that I know? And then it's
Yeah.
easier. Mhm.
And even if there's nothing, like you discover what they do and it's like, okay, I don't know if it's a match yet.
Yet.
Yes, yet. Exactly. Yet is a yes and. It's like, yes, and we can keep talking and see what comes up. So discovery was my big mantra word. I'm all about mantras and stuff. Discovery was my mantra word for 2025, and
Mhm.
2026 is possibilities. Because when
Mm.
you're open to discovery and kind of just taking it one step at a time and being curious, then all of the possibilities will unfold and come up, but you have to be open to
Yeah.
seeing them. And if
Yeah.
you're closed, you don't see all those possibilities.
Mm-mm. No, you don't see those opportunities around. So, how has networking played a part in your move? Like you moved to Charlotte, and so you obviously didn't know anybody. So, how has it played a part, just both personally and professionally, really?
Yeah, I jumped in, and I'll back up to when I lived in California, I was doing improv speaking as a side hustle. So it was a side hustle for about 3.5 years. I worked my corporate full-time job, and I was just watching all these terrible presentations and going, I could really help these presenters. Like, let me work with them. I could make this presentation just so much more lively and engaging. And so I was kind of building the company, on the behind the scenes. And so when
Mhm.
we moved, I went full time. I'm all in on my business now. And I was so excited about that because I was like, I'm all in. I'll have so much time to to do my business work. And I'll just, I've already laid the foundation, and people are going to be knocking on the door ready to work with me because now I'm full time and I have all this capacity. And it was a little slower than that. I'm gonna be honest.
But you also moved across the country from one coast to the
Exactly.
other.
And I had a network in California on the West Coast,
Mhm.
and I can still lean on that network. I would love to travel. had, putting that out there, would love to travel to California and give workshops and stuff. But yeah, I had to start fresh here in Charlotte and meet people. And companies aren't just going to call you up randomly if you're not doing anything about it, if you're not getting out there. And so I took that to heart, and I was trying to get out there a little too much too. I kind of overexerted myself. I was like trying to go to every networking thing and meet up with people for coffee and lunch and do all these like meetings. And it got a little exhausting. And I was like, I actually have to sit down and do work. And you could probably tell by my talking is I'm a talker. I love connection. I love, meeting new people. Like, it lights me up. I'm a total extrovert. And so I love networking. Like, I can go to pretty much any networking event and be like, hey, I'm in. I let's meet cool people. My guiding light with networking is, did I meet cool people at this event? And did I feel lit up after? Did I feel excited about things?
Or drained?
Did I feel excited about my work? What's that?
Or drained.
Or drained. Exactly. Yeah. And so I had to rein it in with the networking and be more intentional. And I know your previous guests talk about that, like being more intentional about networking and finding the right groups. I don't love like the right rooms. I feel like that's kind of played out. People are like, you got to be in the right room. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, there's cool people in every room. But just being more intentional. Ooh, I created a word. Being more intentional about the networking. Make that a highlight reel.
Make that a highlight reel. Exactly, right there. But it is true. Intention is really a big part of it. How you're showing up and who you're looking for and the connections you want to make and just where you're going is important. It is very important.
I'd like to add too is I was feeling not enough too in my networking because I have a little one. She's going to be 2 in the end of July. And I was also feeling kind of at odds a little bit, like I couldn't do everything. And I couldn't go to evening events. I'm with her in the evenings doing bedtime routine. So it's really hard for me to get away. I can't do early morning. We're doing daycare drop off at like 9 or 10 a.m. And you know what? I'm going to enjoy that while I can, while she doesn't have to be at school at a certain time. But at first I was like, oh, I'm missing out. I had this feeling of missing out, that FOMO. Like, I'm missing out on everything. That's why it's not working. That's why people aren't coming to me because, I'm not at everything. And it's like, no. Once I found the right groups and I'm going into rooms, I'm meeting cool people and actually creating opportunities for myself too, and for others, like having that dynamic relationship, that it all flows. And I feel like I was in the planting seeds phase of business, like planting a ton of seeds. And now those seeds are starting to grow.
That's
because
great.
I'm more intentional.
So it's funny that you said about the kids, because that's actually why I started Network Build Grow back in the day. Was I couldn't go to the 7:30 meetings in the morning or in the evening. I couldn't do the happy hours at night because I had children and we had school functions and I wanted to be with them regardless of the have tos. I just wanted to be home when they were home.
Yeah.
And so I started my own networking group where I could set the time. So that's why we do 10 o'clock, 11:30 and 1.
Thank you.
Because that's real life.
Thank you.
We do, and we do attract a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs because they have a life outside of their business that they want to be engaged in, which I think is perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about your networking. And let's do some rapid fire networking questions.
Let's do it.
And
let's do it.
Thing, this is perfect. This is right up your alley, right? This improv thing. All right, ready? Here you go. First thing that pops in your mind. What's one common mistake that people do when they start networking?
I mean, I think I said it before, but trying to do all the things, get in all of the groups. I joined a group that had a 6-month commitment. I love NBG for having the monthly commitments, or you can buy for the year, which I was doing monthly and I just switched to the year because I'm like, well, I'm in this. Yeah. But I joined a group with a 6-month commitment and they had stuff in the evenings. And I was like, oh, I really liked what they were all about. I've attended like 2 or 3 out of the 12. Yeah. Because I can't, evenings are hard, but I just thought I've got to be a part of this group and I liked what they were about. but they got me. They got me. So yeah, really trying to do too much
Trying
in
to do too
networking.
much. Yeah, trying to do too much. Okay. So when you're attending an event, do you aim for quality or quantity of new connections?
Quality. Yeah. Did I meet cool people or did I meet a cool person? It doesn't even have to be people. Did I meet a cool person at this event? And cool person is like I enjoyed talking with them and like I want to talk to them again. So we'll
Mhm.
connect again. And then did I feel excited? Did it leave me going like ready to come home and do some work and like kind of get a fire lit under me and
Yeah.
like excited for just all the possibilities? Or did I feel drained? And
Yep.
that keeps me coming back.
That's great. Okay. Another one. When you when you are like thinking about how you're going to follow up with somebody, when you know you've had a couple of good conversations with a couple of different people and you go home, what is one way that you follow up and what's kind of your go-to process?
Hey, this is my struggle point.
I know everybody says that. Everybody says that.
It is my struggle point. I've got the notebook full of ideas that I know I need to put into a CRM, and I do need better systems. So I will fully admit that live here on NBG podcast, I need better systems. So I am not perfect, as you can probably see, but yeah, follow up is key, and that is what I've learned in this journey is follow up. And I will say, I feel like momentum sometimes, like you can get in your head about momentum and be
Mhm.
like, oh, we had this great conversation 2 days ago. Is it too late to follow up? Or now I've
Mm,
let it lapse and it's been a week. Is it too late? Like, I don't get, no, like follow up when you follow up, like
mhm,
reach out, send the email. I like to put a personal touch. I am not a big AI person. So I know we have
mhm,
AI people in the group and I know AI is the next big thing. I'm not an AI person. I'm a personal touch person. And if that
mhm.
takes me longer, that's fine. But I'll send a personal email that's probably a little too long, that has some ideas in it. And I know, Melissa, you're like, those are all the things you don't do there.
No, no, I think personal is wonderful. I think personal long is maybe a little bit too long sometimes,
Yes.
but personal
Right.
is absolutely what you should do. I
Yes.
send if I
Finding
have
that
their
personal.
actual physical email or their physical mailing address, I send them a handwritten note in the mail.
I do love getting your notes too. I go check
Aw.
my mailbox and I'm like, oh, I got a note from Melissa. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big on that. If you can get their, if you have their mailing address, which sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But I've also been known to write out some notes when I knew I would see them at the next event and just take it and hand it to them. You
Yes.
know,
And to
yes,
follow up
and
there, I know we meet a lot of people, and sometimes it can be hard to keep it all straight, like, where did I meet this person and everything. However, if you have that quality connection, that really good talk, you're really invested, like, you're actually focusing, you're 100% in, it is easier to remember what was said, or at least a little bit what they do. You might not remember the whole conversation, but you'll remember, "Oh, yeah, that person does this, we talked about this." And so, yes, it's good to write it down after and put it in your CRM and stuff, but it is easier to retain if there's a quality conversation behind it.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, one last thing. What do you think is a good conversation starter other than, "So what do you do?"
You know, I don't come into it with anything planned because that's not who I am.
Right.
Um, having something canned just I feel like would not be very real.
Mhm.
So I usually do ask them like, "How's it going? How's business?" Because I am genuinely curious, and I know
Mhm.
that's a kind of surface level question, but I'm curious, like, how is business going? And
I
if
think that's a
people
great question.
okay, yeah, yeah, good.
Yeah.
I yeah, how's business going for you? And people will keep it surface level, or they might take it. They're like, oh, it's a little slow right now, and well, what are you excited to get started? And that can add, and we can discover new things off of that
Mhm.
question
Yeah, I
too.
think it's a great question. I get so tired of the "So what do you do?" question because then people just give their little elevator pitch, and that doesn't really tell me anything. But asking them, "How is your business going?" Well, that takes thought, and now they have to actually think of something to say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also, yeah, just being genuinely curious, like listening, and then not to listen to respond. Okay, like they said this, I've got to respond this, but more just like trusting that you'll have the right question at
Yeah.
the end of it and giving them space to talk. I've sat on conference sessions where a speaker said listening is your superpower. And I always remember that listening is your superpower. Less is more too. We
Mhm.
feel like we have to speak and share what we do and talk about all the things. But actually, if you give people the space to talk and share about themselves, then they remember like, oh, that person like really made me feel special, like made me feel seen. Like
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with that
Mhm.
person enough to talk again and see what comes up.
Yeah, and that's really all we're trying to do at a networking event is just build those relationships. We're not trying to get all the things out in 20 minutes or less. Like that's just not possible. So
You're
that's what
building that trust because what we do is we're better in, when we're having the focused sales calls or like, we're showcasing our stuff, what we can do, how we can help. But we don't do that when we're at networking. The goal or eventually the goal is, to get people to talk with us one-on-one. So that way we can collaborate or, make them a client or however it works out. But, the goal is not to sell from networking. The goal is to build that trust so they feel comfortable chatting with you again.
exactly, exactly. So this has been wonderful. I have really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you over these past few months. That just feels like we just are kindred spirits in a lot of ways. So
Yes, likewise. And thanks for keeping me on track because I'm a long-winded speaker, if you can't tell. I might be your longest episode.
it
I'm a
might be.
long form content girly here. So thanks for keeping me on track and thanks for being so welcoming too. It's been lovely to get to know you and I'm so excited for the possibilities ahead for us too.
And there are lots. So we are going to be talking very soon. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Network Build Grow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur or professional. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, visit networkbuildgrow.com to connect with us. Until next time, keep building and keep growing.